military votes that potentially will be cast? And secondly, do you have any breakdown, Democrat versus Republican, of absentee ballot requests?
We don't keep data on the Democrat-Republican piece. That would be kept at the local board level to the extent that they even keep the information in that manner. And on military ballots, we were at about we were over 18,000 as of last Friday that had been sent, and over 8,000 that had been returned. As of last Friday, 8,000 had been returned.
And how we can get you those numbers?
That number is starting to close, just like the other numbers are beginning to close. And obviously, those are coming back in many cases from further away. And it's worth noting that those ballots can come back up till 10 days after the election, and so they have plenty of time to return those ballots.
Could I do this?
Let me go to the back first.
I have a question. You talked about the 4:30 thing, and you know, many people who have absentees probably may wait till this weekend to actually cast their ballot and mail it Monday heading to work. So did you just say that if it comes in Tuesday, their absentee will not be tabulated that night? Because
It depends on when it comes in and whether the board can process it in time. And that's why we encourage people to return their ballots as soon as possible.
Because I know legally they can wait till then, but
Legally, it will be counted. It will be counted.
But just maybe not that night.
It will depend on whether or not, again, there is a verification process. This is part of the security mechanism. This is that balance between convenience and security. We have to make sure that that person is indeed who they say they are. They have to have time to check that against the voter file. If it were to come to them too late before they could process it, then indeed that's a situation that you've described.
We in our directive, if it's there, it gets counted. If it's not there, then you can't count. So they'll be scrambling around, and if it's in the premises, they will open it up and get to it.
We've asked them.
Yeah, we've asked
them to do that, but they have to.
They have to.
Yeah.
They have to do it.
They may be doing that throughout the course of the night. It may not be in that original count. I guess that's what I mean in that original absentee ballot count.
With the provisionals?
Let me take this question.
Okay, sorry.
Just a few more questions. If there's a big enough margin between candidates, would the ballots that would be counted after 10 days not be counted because there's some
those are legally cast ballots. Let's put it this way, all legally cast ballots must be counted and be part of the official canvass. And so those ballots that get counted 10 days after are just as important to the integrity of the elections process as they are that night, because I know that a lot of people think the presidential election is the only thing that matters, but there are candidates who they're voting for all the way up and down that line who want their votes and want those votes to be counted too.
And then just, do you anticipate any of this will be slowed by the storm? Are there any polling stations still without power, or that may not?
We stand at present unaffected by any weather, and the forecast does not indicate that we would, but it is worth noting that every Board of Elections files an emergency procedures plan to accommodate natural and man-made incidences that may occur during the elections process to make sure that there are alternative ways for voters to cast their ballots.
With the provisionals in that 10 days where they can't really do anything other than be sorted. Sorted how? I mean, what does that mean? It says during that 10-day period, provisionals sit there, but it says provisional ballots will be sorted. They can't be opened or counted. Sorted how?
They would be sorted into a category. For example, a Democrat and Republican would look at a ballot. They would sort it and say, all of this information checks out, and we're going to sort it into that category as count this ballot. They might be sorted into another category that, hey, there's something wrong with the way that this was done. We need to take this to the board to have them identify its validity, which means that they would have to have the voting members of the board validate that ballot.
So,
is that
right? So, and there's a 5-step procedure that we have for boards to follow. So, as they, the first step is to the voter write their name and sign their name. If they didn't, they'll put them in the didn't sign, didn't print, then move to the next step. So, at the end of the sorting process, At the end of the 10 days, they'll have a pile of all the ballots that are ready to be opened and counted when the official canvass begins, and then all of the ones that are invalid under state law for various reasons.
Yeah, and that process is delineated in a directive that we've issued the board, and I would encourage you, if you have specific questions, to consult that directive.
Could a problem with one of those ballots be cured during that 10-day period by contacting the voters?
Yeah, if the voter failed to put identification on the envelope on election day, then that voter has 10 days to come to the Board of Elections and write the ID on the envelope. ID being the last 4 digits of their social security number, their driver's license number. So those would be the only people during the 10 days who voted provisionally who are able to cure a defect for people who didn't do ID.
Absentee ballots can also be cured during that time frame for the same reasons.
So you're not reaching out to these people and saying you need to come in here. That they knew when they cast the ballot that there was a problem they needed to fix.
Correct.
They will all have been informed at the point that they cast the ballot.
Can a provisional, that a ballot, a voter that was not challenged at the poll, but who for one reason or another filled out a provisional ballot, is there a process to challenge that? A provisional ballot about whether it could be counted or not? That's entirely up to the canvassing board and no challenges allowed?
The challenge has to be made at the point the ballot's cast. There's not an opportunity for a post-election day challenge under state law to a cast provisional.
So if somebody had some question about their eligibility at the poll, files the provisional ballot, when the ballot is evaluated, there's no opportunity at that point to challenge the reason why it's being counted or not counted?
Correct.
Seems like there's some things that happened